All right. Hey, Heechan, thanks for joining us today. Would love for you to introduce yourself.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me, Justin. Hi guys, I'm Heech. I'm the creator of MatchPoint, and we are a volleyball app. Basically, what we do is we host open gyms, tournaments, leagues. What's unique about us is that we actually have professional camera crews go in and have footage of you guys, and basically, you guys will get like pro level or high level video cameras like other pro players would actually get. We make edits and things like that too, so it's pretty cool. Our leagues that we're running is pretty interesting. We actually have a draft league. So there's 2 weeks of tryouts where people signed up, and then the captains watch you and then you get picked. So it's not just um people just joining in as a team. You actually get the teams are actually made by the captains, so you get to meet a lot of new people, a lot of new heads, and yeah, for match point.
Nice. And I guess to introduce myself, my name's Justin. I also actually have a volleyball app, and I'm also one of the founders of decimate.world, which is aiming to solve the problem of monopolies in North America, primarily through helping consumers support alternatives to the major tech companies that have ownership of everything. So, yeah, that's the intro. I guess just to get started, are you comfortable sharing how far along you guys are?
Sure, yeah. We started in January 14th, around and we launched our app then, and we have around 2 to 4 open gyms per week. We just are about to have our first tournament this Saturday, March 14th. And we also have my first league starting up, the draft league that I just talked about, starting on Tuesday. So we're super excited. Uh, we're based in Jersey, and yeah,
Nice.
that's how far we are.
Well, these are the good old days. I definitely remember when we were there back in 2022. We launched January 31st, so just after the pandemic. And yeah, this is a really hard space. There's this Y Combinator video where they talk about like tar pit ideas, and their main example, and probably the textbook main example of an idea that everyone tries to work on but everyone fails with is event discovery, trying to find events and in your location. Um, so yeah, this is a tough space to be entering in because you inherently kind of have to be walking it alone. Like no investor wants to touch anything remotely close to this space with like a 10-foot pole. So generally for founders entering this space, I really try to encourage them, like make sure you can build it to a point where you can run a self-sustaining business without any investor support. That should be the goal. And yeah, that's very challenging in this space. What you kind of find when building in community is I like to use this analogy of a movie theater. So if you're watching a movie with a friend, um, you don't need to set any rules for the movie, right? You just sit down on a couch or whatever, you watch the movie, you both enjoy it. Maybe you start asking questions and your friend gets a little annoyed and just goes, shh, just watch, right? So the point is like, this is just a natural dynamic that can happen and it can be a very smooth experience when it's just two people. But as you get, I don't know, 50 people in a room to watch a movie, that's when things can start getting a little messy. And that's why you'll see movie theaters have so many like kind of rules and regulations that they try to get people to follow. So one example, this is something that actually I think started in my lifetime, is you had to start booking individual seats, like specific seats, and then sitting in your actual seat. They also obviously tell everyone to turn off their phones before the movies or put them on silent. They remind everyone to not talk before the movie. So there's all these rules that you have to start adding as a community gets big. And I can say this as founder of a volleyball app that has gotten pretty big, is when we first started off, it was just like, yeah, drop in volleyball. You just kind of show up and you play, and there wasn't too much to it. But over time, we started seeing this issue where people started like looking internally to see, okay, what games are the highest level? Like what games do the most competitive people go to? And they started trying to find ways to book those games. And then So we just added this kind of simple rule of like, all right, games can be, we did beginner and advanced. Those were our two starting skill levels, right? But then um, we started having this issue where, people would go to a beginner game and see it was just like a lot of people who have never played before. And then they'd go, okay, this clearly isn't for me because I've played a couple times before. So I'm just going to go to advanced. Right. So then we added, intermediate in the middle. And there was this kind of weird just escalation of problems as the community grew, where we eventually had to add like really strict requirements, like minimum skill level requirements for each level. And then eventually we had to add a quiz to book at the intermediate level or above. And eventually we had to break down our skill levels like into a ton of different levels. So beginner, recreational, high recreational, intermediate, high intermediate, advanced. And then eventually we had to add like a tryout system and a banning system where if people aren't performing at a certain level, they get timed out at that level and above for a certain number of months. And even now we're making tweaks where we're changing the requirements for our high recreational level to we're actually increasing them a little bit, just so that kind of like the lowest level above recreational for us has some kind of base standard that's really clear and obvious for players. And we also had to set up like game hosts who evaluate people. So yeah, this space is really, really tough because you kind of just, as the community grows, you kind of start seeing more and more edge cases that you have to build around. Because it's not enough that like 1 in 100 people will be breaking the rules. The issue is if people see 1 in 100 people breaking the rules, they just go, okay, well then why the hell am I following these rules too if this person's getting away with it? And then you just see like cascading, more and more people start breaking the rules and the overall quality of your community goes down. So building a community is very tough because as soon as things start becoming successful, you have to just keep adding more and more on top of it. When we went to market initially, we were so ambitious with trying to provide leagues and like court booking and tournaments and training sessions and drop-in games. And we realized after probably about 6 months, like, okay, we need to just focus on drop-in and do nothing else and make sure that this is good. And at this point, it's now like 4 years later, just over 4 years, and we're still not done with ironing out everything for drop-in, right? Like we have, I think, a really good drop-in system, but there's still a few more tweaks and changes we have to make, like around, like I said, upping the skill level at high rec, changing some of the nuances around how people set teams each week. We're probably going to have to retool our cancellation policy eventually. Like there's still a lot of stuff. So that's where we're at right now. It's a very hard space, but I mean, it is doable as, we've managed to find some success in it. So yeah, any questions about any of that? Any comments, concerns?
Yeah, I think it's super cool that you guys um have this long journey or for 4 years on all this growth and all of that. We actually also from the very beginning because I actually started off as just hosting games normally. Like we had our private sessions like um everyone does, like where um someone hosts something and then book the court and then they'll just use the courts, right? I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of volleyball people because the range is so big within the volleyball community, there's like these beginners and then there's like these D1 players and open players who play um insanely well. So how do you get that right level, right? So because of that, we had to. I'm a software engineer, so I decided, hey, why don't I create an app so that it's more organized? We do have other apps are in Jersey that actually run events like volleyball, but the difference is that what we have is we have the skill level that you can put on your profile, and we also when you sign up, you can sign up for a position. So that's something unique about us. So that if you want to be a setter, you can sign up as a setter. If you want to be an outside, you can sign up as an outside. Um, we've been selling out for all of our sessions so far, but I was pretty ambitious too, and I wanted to because normally our player base right now are people who are BB level to AA level. That's how our system works. Ours is C. B, BB, A, and then that's it. AA is the highest. So since our big player base is BB to A, I didn't think about it too much because we're doing so well with the BB and A sessions that I thought I could expand to the people who are a little lower in level. And by opening up those sessions, I found it really, really hard on finding people who would want to play in the BBB sessions compared to the BBA sessions because they want to have comp. Um, so we had to dial back there, and I also noticed that I thought it was a great idea to have these positions, right? But then in these lower level people, they don't want positions. They actually just want to play. Like they don't want to run 5-1, right? Um, and all that. So like you were talking about, there's like all these edge cases, and even from the 2 months that we're running this, we're running into these issues. And yeah, but right now a majority of our players are BB to AA, and our higher level players are definitely getting more traction than um the lower level ones. So it's interesting to see.
No, I think that's pretty normal. Um, we did launch we launched in 3 new cities this past year.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it's generally easier to launch. We actually found intermediate easier to launch at. High intermediate, it depends on the community. So a lot of communities will be more burnt out on drop-in volleyball because, I mean, there will be a bunch of people who try hosting games that don't really put the care into it and don't understand skill level. So the higher level players eventually just decide, like, yeah, I'm not going to play drop-in volleyball because drop-in sucks. Um, so yeah, it does definitely depend on how mature the drop-in scene is in your community. Um, One thing you'll notice as you grow, because for the future of your community and for the future of the sport, you need to get new people into it, right?
Right.
Issue is, you think about like the lifelong volleyball players, right? Like people who played through the club system or people who played through the high school system. Like that puts them actually at a really high level of play as an adult, just like to the point where like they can't really play with people who just picked it up as an adult, right? They
Hmm.
need to then probably be playing with other people in their situation, which if you think about how long it takes to create that kind of player, inherently it's like a 5+ year process. So if you're bringing in new people to the community, to your community, there's again similarly going to be about 5 years where they can't really be playing with like other people in your community, the existing people in your community. So it
Hmm.
does create this a bit of a gap that's really, really hard to bridge, and that's one of the reasons we've really struggled is finding the best way to bridge it, finding something that is fair and inclusive enough that people want to join the community while still kind of preserving the level of play for the higher level players. It is a very big challenge. And I mean, again, we've been working on this for 4 years and it's still something that we're like only just, I mean, I say that I still don't know if we do it very well, but we're moving in the right direction, which I think really matters. So it's tough. What, I just out of curiosity, what position do you play?
I play setter. I'm a setter. What position do you play?
I was a right side until I started getting kind of old. So I've been switching to setter. So
Okay,
I don't have
nice.
my legs anymore. Um, but yeah, it's a tough thing to build. We have just started getting into tournaments more seriously ourselves too. And we're excited for that because I think that helps us kind of unlock the next level of play for the sport. Um, but yeah, the big thing, there's a number of things like you'll learn, I think, over time. One thing that it took us probably too long to learn is how to maintain like the right shortage, I want to say, of like higher level games. Because you'll see a lot of people on your platform will just sign up for what's available, um, especially as you scale up. The way people view a new tech company versus an existing tech company is completely different.
Mhm.
When you're new, people will join your platform and you'll have like, you'll have these rules and they'll read them and they'll respect it and they'll go, oh yeah, this is a new company. I gotta, be careful. But when you're an existing company and they join your platform, like they'll have this mindset of like this company wouldn't show me a game if I shouldn't be allowed to go out and play it, right? Like because they should be able to account for this. So if you have a spot open at an A or double A game and they're a new player, they might just book it because it's like the mindset is like, oh well, it's open for me to book, so I'm going to book it. Um, so yeah, that's something you have to be careful of is as your brand gets established and you start transitioning from the early adopters more to the middle adopters, the whole mindset of how people expect your product to act for them is completely different.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. We we also have hosts hosting the games, and um they make the teams. Like we make the teams beforehand. And when we do that, we also notice that there are some players who are B level players who joined a BBA um thing. So we have it so that if they are interrupting the flow or the state of the game too much, we do have a flag system where if you get flagged 3 times, then you won't be able to join those games for a while as well. Um, what I struggle with the beginning, especially when we're um growing in the beginning, is that you have to be more lenient, or it feels like I have to be more lenient with those kind of rules, right? Right now we have around 400 plus users on our platform. It's been 6 weeks, almost 7 now. And from that, it especially in the beginning, it's like they're not supposed to be here, but we also need business. And if
Yeah,
there's 12 people and one person drops out because their level's not too good, then we can't run a proper game, and like this becomes a problem.
yeah. Um, yeah. Well, one way we get around that is we'll do 36-person tiered games at a level lower than what people want to run. So we'll do 6 teams, 2 courts, and run a tiering system. Um, and that way, like, I mean, you can run an intermediate game, but there can be like a couple high intermediate players, or I guess for you BB players that come out, and they'll still get decent rallies because they'll just work their way up to the higher court. That can actually help with that problem. Um, in general, I mean, it's interesting that you kind of hit the nail on the head there is yeah, how you run the a new community has to be very different from how you run an established community. Um, it's you do have to be more strict as you get larger, and people expect you to be more strict as you get larger. I think with a new community, a lot of the times people are just kind of excited to be there, and so they'll actually be a bit more forgiving, and you can then sit down and talk with people and say like, hey, maybe they'll, you'd be better off going to this other game. Um, it's tough though. Do try to have a shortage of higher level games. That's the best thing I can say. As much as you'll want to make more, like create a shortage of them rather than making another BBA game, make a BBB game and again run a tiering system with multiple courts. Um, there was something else you mentioned I wanted to jump in with. I'm blanking on it now, but
I'm
yeah,
not sure.
there's a lot you can do. I'm curious though about how you guys do run your games. Um,
Okay.
so we have a lot of like nuances that we've built over time and we're still trying to tweak. So for example, we'll do 18-person games, 3 teams of 6, just in case someone no shows. If we do 2 teams of 12, um then and one person no shows, then a team has to play with 5, which kind of like ruins things. So that's one decision we made. We'll do our cancellation policy. I think we need to improve a little bit. So we let people cancel up to 4 hours before a game that they book for. Um, but I think
And
that
do they get a full refund to their card, or do they?
Yeah, so we do payment intents on Stripe. So we don't accept the payment until like the just before the event. So if they cancel, we just don't collect the payment.
I see.
Um, but in order to do that, payment intents will only hold for a week, so we can't open up bookings for a game until a week before. Um, so we made this auto sign up thing that people can turn on, which will automatically make the payment intent each week. And that works pretty well. But sometimes we get too many cancellations day of, and then some people get worried their game's getting canceled, so they cancel too. So we might have to change this to like, you can cancel up to, let's say, we're thinking of doing it so that you can cancel up to 24 hours before the game for a full refund, and we just don't collect the payment. But if it's within the 24 to 4 hour mark, you'll just get a refund in credits, just so that people still have the flexibility if they need it. But
Yeah, our refund system is 24 hours before they can get a refund in credits, and after that you can't do that.
yeah, and to
Um
be honest, I think that system might be a bit better. We probably went the route of going too flexible for customers, and it creates some uncertainty for players whether or not their games are going through.
I don't know if you experienced this, but from someone who also signed up for open gyms, you normally sign up the day before or the day of, right?
That's
Um Yeah, that's very common. But then as someone who's running the app, and especially we don't have an investor or we just started off, we have to get like to get the deals from these gyms, you have to book like a month in advance or months in advance. And from that, it's like I get so scared over like there's like two people signed up right now. What do we
yeah,
do? And especially for us since we're starting, it's hard to just cancel a game um and our booking just goes out the door and then everyone gets refunds back, right?
yeah.
So
No, it's, and
yeah.
we do the same thing. If we don't hit a minimum target, we cancel the game, and then we just don't collect people's payments, so they all get
Hmm.
like the full refund.
Right.
Um, yeah, no, man, this is such a stressful like role. Like, so we're running over 100 games per week in Toronto right now, right?
Okay.
And even now, like I had a canceled game on Tuesday. That was 2 days ago, and it still was like stressing me out that day. Like one out of the 100, right? So that it just never goes away.
That's crazy. It's yeah, it's so stressful. And
Yeah,
then once you see that number climb up, like normally around we run so we have two different gyms right now. Um One we're running 3 hours, three teams, and another one which is two courts and four teams. Um and but that's one is 2 hours. So and they're the same price. These numbers go up by such random times. Like sometimes it'll fill up so quickly, like it'll fill up as soon as it drops, and then another time it'll be not filled up to like 2 hours before. Like we'll have 10 people, and then suddenly 14 more people would sign up.
yeah. Um, so one way we fix that is we had this auto sign up feature. People turn it on, it automatically adds them each week, and then they can cancel whenever. That's why we have such a fair, or not such a fair, such a lenient cancellation policy. It's to encourage people to use this auto sign up feature. And then when people use it, it starts off the week with, let's say, we have targets for different skill levels. So the higher level the game, the higher we expect the auto sign up rate to be. It goes from somewhere from like 60 up to, I think, 80%. So right at the start of the week, like, as soon as the game opens, 70% of the spots are accounted for already. And then people see that and they start getting kind of FOMO of like, oh, I got to sign up now or I won't get a spot. And then they join in.
So
Um,
how does it work if say that you said that you guys have 18 spots, um and if it's 18 spots, then and say that like 24 people auto sign.
so we cap auto signups.
Okay.
Technically, one of the spots is the host who plays for free.
Right.
So there's 17 auto sign up spots for a game.
Okay. And how does someone get priority?
It's first come, first serve for those.
Okay. So if 17 people are always auto-signed, then no one else can join.
unless someone cancels, which people do.
Happens, right?
And hey, then what we had as an issue, 'cause we liked auto sign up so much that we would give people a 5% discount if they auto sign up. So then some people just started turning it on for every single game and then canceling day of. So then we had to go in and build this function that checks how many people are auto signed up, and if it's above 12 out of the 17 spots available, then it'll start canceling one per week if they cancel, let's say, 4 weeks in a row. So that's not actually it. It's actually like at 12, it will cancel if they've done 8 in a row. And then at 14, 15, I think it's 6. And then at like 17, um, it's 4 in a row. So it kind of is graduated, but it goes back to that point where like you build something and then it solves this one small issue that you have with your community, but it opens up this new issue that you then need to build to solve for. Um, which is again, it's one of the reasons why this space is so excruciatingly difficult. Um, and I mean, we're in a position where like it kind of pushed us really far to a point where we had to add like all of these kind of rules and regulations to keep like the games in check and to keep things good and to be able to run a lot of games that we're actually kind of now squeezing some people out where they're like, I just want this is just drop in, right? Like I just want something simple. Like why are there things like I have to join a wait list and maybe auto sign up and like what is all this, right? So some people just at the end of the day that'll push them away from your community because it's just not free enough for them. And that's causing us to reevaluate things and go like maybe because we wanted it originally just to like help connect people through volleyball, and we're now thinking like maybe we really should just establish ourselves as like the premium volleyball brand and experience that's all about like trying to host really high quality games for people who want to have high quality games and people who want to improve and want to be lifelong volleyball players.
Yeah,
So
honestly, I think we are going a similar route as well in terms of like wanting to push these high level games rather than the lower level games. Follow sports and other good rec and these other places with like that are huge names in the states already kind of hold all the players who are kind of playing just for
yeah.
fun.
And well,
Um,
here's the thing is they'll start competitive. Like Goodrec started hosting really competitive volleyball games, and then over time, just the quality of their games got diluted and went down. Um, because again, them as a company, it's just like they want to bring people together. Um, and that will happen if you don't find solutions to this. And it was really tough for us. We're all through a mobile app. Are you mobile app, web app?
we are also a mobile app as well.
Yeah. So back when we were launching, it was much harder to build. I think you have the privilege of being able to launch in the AI era. So things will be a little bit smoother for you. But it was like so difficult where every change we made, like obviously everything on our app would break and we'd have to refix that. And it caused us to like very slowly build out systems around like skill level management for games, much slower than we initially would have wanted to. And it did cause a lot of brand issues for us, like similar to the Goodrec brand, where people just started saying our games suck because we could not keep up with the speed that our community was growing and ensure that we had a system that maintained skill level. So it was challenging, but we I guess eventually over time learned from it, and we managed to set up things that I think work pretty well. Um, so sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so you say that? So I'm guessing that you were always part of the volleyball community, which is why kind of people knew you and when you started this app. Um,
So well, here's the thing. I actually just played very casually. I
okay.
was a very casual volleyball player when I started working on this. And it was like just my favorite recreational sport. I didn't play it super seriously. Um, so when I was launching the company, I was thinking like, yeah, I want to launch for other people like myself, like people who just want to play some fun drop in volleyball, and it's like whatever. And then we kind of became the de facto volleyball app, and we realized like, hey, we should really, but like we need to build for the community what they want. And what they wanted was like a skill level management system for all of their games. So then we had to lean forward, all in on that. And probably starting that too slowly, I think was one of the big mistakes we made early on.
Okay. And I have another question was how did you guys get so much traction? Like, because to me, the traction that we're getting is that I was part of the community, and then I have hosts who are part of the community, and it spreads, right? And then um, because my hosts are of pretty high level, um, people tend to want to play with them. So then it ends up being their influence and that kind of influence that brings people to our community. Um, but since you say that you come from a more casual volleyball background, um, I'm curious on how you ended up getting so much traction from these high level players.
Um, so for us, the big thing early on was timing. Like we were launching at the tail end of the COVID pandemic, so and that I think is again one of the reasons why like our company started with the identity that it did is everyone was just looking to do something again. Like everyone was just looking to hang out with people again. And that was what our company's identity was early on is like, hey, we're just gonna help you do stuff like play a sport with other people. And volleyball was more just a catalyst towards socializing. Um, that was obviously just a temporary timing thing, though, what people wanted when they were coming back from COVID. After that, like people started pivoting into like, I want really exciting volleyball games. I want really exciting volleyball rallies. So we as a company had to pivot into that as well. And it just took time. Yeah, I mean, it just took time. And like, that's kind of the startup space. Like everything takes, I don't know, 2, 3 times as long as you think it will.
Hmm.
Um, there's generally a saying that you under or you overestimate what you can accomplish in 1 year, but you underestimate what you can accomplish in three. So, and I think that's pretty true looking back on things. Is we thought in a year we would have so many games and everything would be, working out amazingly. And then I thought in like 3 years, like, oh, we're gonna maybe be hosting like, I don't know, like you know, 20 games a week and then also running a league, right? But, we're now running over 100 games per week just in one of our cities. So the compounding adds up.
That's insane. I mean, that's insane to hear that you guys have 100 games in one city. That's insane.
It shocked me too. Like I did not think when I was doing my initial projections for this, I'm like, okay, 19,000 cities in North America, say 10% can have a volleyball community. That's 1,900. Let's hit 10 games per week, maybe in each of those 1,900 cities. And that's like 100,000 annually per game. And like, I don't know, I'm like, oh, like nice. It can be like a venture backable company. Like there's good size there. But the actual size when you build like a really good volleyball system gets shockingly massive. One of the ways you asked about how we grow, one of the things we do is we'll host half price beginner to recreational, which I think it probably would be like D level or even before. Like these are truly started for people who have like never played. So we'll host training sessions at that level um, for half price. And that to us, that's our marketing spend. Like that's how we view this. Is this gets new people into volleyball because they go, oh look, I can learn and play with a coach for like $7, right? Maybe $8. So yeah, it's a good way for people to get in, and then they start going up through our different skill levels.
Um, I also it's what's really different about Javelin and Match Point is that our traction, a lot of our traction comes from actually tournaments. People really want to see more tournaments from us. The league, the league people are interested in, and the open gyms sell out. But I'm iffy about putting more out there because it sells out like last minute. So I don't know because sometimes there are days when there's 10 people on the wait list, and there's sometimes there where we just make it to the cut. Um,
So yeah, we would host um we would host a lot of tournaments early on, and then the tournament scene started getting really big in Toronto, and we had this app that we were still focusing on building out like a good drop-in volleyball system for, because there were a million problems behind everything we built. So we ended up actually, I think probably not hosting great tournaments through our platform, because it just, we couldn't build a system that handled good tournaments, while also trying to improve our drop-in system. So we actually pulled back on hosting tournaments for a while. We exclusively focused on drop-in volleyball. And then on the side, we were building like this rating system for teams and individuals, right? Based on like how they do against other teams. It's like uses the chess elo system plus a little bit of a point differential weighting. And we got to a point where like it actually kind of started making sense, and we started hosting more tournaments. And we actually managed to raise some sponsorship funding for this like national open level tournament that we're hosting.
yeah, the
We did
invitational, right?
Yes. So we did seeding games across Canada, and we're just we've selected all our teams now to play in a finals on Easter weekend for a 10K cash prize. What's nice is we can now kind of invite teams based on their rating, right? So we're actually also showing our players now, like, hey, this rating system is, if you get a high rating on your team, you can actually start making money playing volleyball, right? So it's allowing
Hmm.
us to potentially move into the semi-pro to pro scene, which I think is one of the next focuses for us as a company, because I think establishing that kind of scene in North America will get a lot more people watching, ergo playing volleyball. So it'll just be good for the sport overall.
Yeah, that's super dope. Seeing that actually also inspired me to, um, wanting to do something like that as well. We wanted to host like from the East Coast side, uh, like 20 different cities and the winners of that, and then we do another big tournament at the end. Trying to get sponsors. We also something big about our tournaments is that a lot of the East Coast tournaments, I'm not sure about Javelin or any other app, is that we try to give back more than we can with the prizes. With the tournament that we have on the March 14th, we have it so that people receive their money back for the registration plus 300. And the MVP gets Way of Wades, and the captain gets a Way of Wades and merch
Nice.
from us.
How are you funding that? Just yourselves, or do you guys have sponsors?
We are funding them ourselves. So far, we are able to do that. We're thinking about more of the marketing so far on like, if we were to promote this and like have these good prizes instead of running this once a month or every other month. Maybe with these kind of prizes, we'll be able to run this bi-weekly or weekly, and people would want to join every time. So that's the kind of direction that we're thinking of going. Um,
No,
and right, yeah,
I think that makes sense. We try to do things like everything we do, we want to be break even to profitable if we can. But that's just because we haven't raised VC funding, right? I mean, if we did raise some funding, then yeah, we would probably host some pretty big cash prize tournaments for very cheap. Just because it's a great way to start winning some market share. Um, and yeah, I mean, personally, I think, and I don't know if you believe in this too, but like I'm just really excited with the future of volleyball in North America right now. I think it's going to be massive. Like it's going to be really big. Um, it just hasn't really, nothing's really been built for it yet. So now you have companies like ours that are building in the like modern era, whereas most sports were established, before the internet existed. So we can leverage the internet to build a culture of the sport that is better than I think the existing ones really have.
yeah, I agree. With like these other sports apps, so like Follow and Good Rec and other big ones, they end up going volleyball, soccer, football, and so many other sports that they forget to understand what the volleyball people want, right? And I think that because of that, match point is pretty unique. And since we're just starting off and the community is a big thing, um, we're really trying to. Our big thing is that we really listen to what the people say. We have a Instagram. We don't have too many followers. I mean, I think it's pretty good for the time that we have created it. We have around like 300 to 350 followers, but our reels and our scripts are doing really well. We post like little, like those volleyball skits that people do, um, and things like that to um, really be out there. And I think that Match Point, um, I don't know how Javelin is, but with Matchpoint, we try to really brand ourselves. Like we want to be not just like a open or tournament league kind of thing, but more um a brand, if that makes sense. Yeah, so we're coming up with merch. We're coming up with we actually Slunks have sponsored us with giving us some products. And so that we have this leaderboard where if you go to if you're the top 10 on like the most amount of games that you for open gyms, and you'll win. Um, the top 10 will receive hats from Slunks for free, and the first place will get pair of shorts from
Nice.
Slunks for free as well.
No, I love that. That's a really yeah. Um, like as a company, we focus so aggressively on like product and building something that provides the right kind of experience for our customers. And it's caused us to leave behind our branding a little bit, right? And leave behind the marketing a little bit. And it's something that I'm like we're really starting to change our viewpoint on because we've managed now to build a product that like we're kind of proud of. I'd say maybe for the first 3 years plus, like we just thought like our product sucks. We just need to focus on it and make it better. And now that it's getting to a point where we're getting kind of happy with it, yeah, we're trying to change our internal tone on focusing more on that stuff.
That sounds insane to me that you guys didn't focus on marketing and just focus on the product, but because the product was so good that you guys were able to expand. I guess the timing also helped, but I mean, still,
Yeah.
like, there are probably other people maybe trying to build something like that,
Um,
um,
I
but
mean,
yeah,
everyone says like, yeah, focus on distribution, like don't focus on product. And I think that's kind of B2B advice because all of the VC space is focused on B2B. And then it kind of bleeds into the consumer founders. Fundamentally, what matters most is brand. Like that's what matters, your brand. And your brand will be defined by a mix of your marketing and your product. I think that in the Um, B2B space, probably marketing matters more for defining your brand. But I think in the B2C space, especially in new industries and new products, I think service level matters more. Product quality matters more. As things get old and mature, you kind of saw this with like Google Chrome versus Internet Explorer, where early on Internet Explorer sucked. It was really slow. There were toolbars for everything. You had to open different web pages to use stuff. So it had the best marketing. It had the best distribution. Internet Explorer came pre-installed on every single Windows machine. Like there's no greater marketing or distribution advantage outside of that. Yet Chrome won, right? Because when Chrome came out, Internet Explorer sucked. So Chrome was faster, it had tabs, it didn't have all these random toolbars. So it was just a better experience. Everyone switched to Chrome and the brand got established as Chrome is just is just what you use to browse the internet. And then um a few years after that, Microsoft, sorry, started saying, "Hey, we need a good browser. Like a good browser is worth billions of dollars. We need one that people use. We have the best distribution of it, so let's make Internet Explorer better. Let's make it the best browser we can." And they completely rebuilt it, and they added the tabs, and they worked on making it faster, and they removed all the toolbars. And at the same time, Chrome started having this weird RAM thing where it would eat up all the RAM on your computer. So there was a legitimate time where Internet Explorer was better than Chrome. It was just a better browser than Chrome. but it was too late because the brand was already established that the browsing experience you use is Chrome. So Microsoft looked at this and said, wow, we just made a browser better than Chrome. No one's using to us. Like, people are using this better browser than Chrome to install Chrome and then delete the browser. So they finally just sunset Internet Explorer, launched a new browser called Edge because they realized that like they couldn't compete with the brand that Chrome had. So focus on brand. Probably early on, especially in consumer, product matters most for brand. In the long term, I think probably marketing will start to matter more.
When you say like, if you think about it, the pickup volleyball scene when you just think about it like really simply, it's just you go on the app, you sign up, and then you just go, right? But working on this and like listening to people's concerns and like the level and also now hearing about the auto sign up, it's I think and all the features that you guys have are great and maybe something that we should implement on our side as well.
To some extent, don't try to follow, I guess, along with what other people do. Like, we've noticed that is some of the other groups you've mentioned, they've actually adjusted their cancellation policy to be in line with ours. So like one example is we used to auto cancel games 2 hours before the game started because if there weren't enough players, right? Um, but this created this thing where like 2 hours isn't enough time for people to find out they're not playing tonight. Like, they needed more of a heads up. So it created this kind of bad culture where people would be canceling last minute if they thought there was a chance their game wouldn't run, so they could find something else to do, and that they weren't on the hook to like wait for an hour, for 2 hours, from that 4 hour to the 2 hour window to see if they're actually playing. So we changed it to 3 hours, right? And that actually solved a big chunk of that issue because 3 hours was just enough time for people now. And they'd only have to kind of be locked in for about an hour before they found out if they were playing. And what's interesting is like after we made that change, I kind of was, or while we were working on it, I kind of went around to all the other groups, which used to not have this policy, but I went around to all the other apps to see what they do. And they had all added a 2 hour cancellation policy that I'm thinking like, oh, that's funny. They don't know this doesn't work yet. So
So
um, I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, do try to focus more on your actual customers and providing the value to them that they would want. If you're focusing on trying to like recreate what competitors do, like oftentimes your competitors make mistakes. Oftentimes what they do isn't optimal, and you'll kind of just be behind them in an inoptimal way if you do that.
yeah, um, yeah, that makes sense. Totally makes sense. What we actually created that's I don't know if Javelin has this. Um, we have a thing called groups. Basically, people can make groups, and then when they sign up, you will be put in the same team, no matter what. Um, that's something I think that's what a lot of our users like about our app so far is that when you go with your friends, normally you end up splitting up. If you are going to an open gym, um, but since we have that groups functionality, it seems like a lot of people like it.
No,
And
I like that. This took us a long time to do, but like we eventually made the ability for people to join teams within the app. And then we added this follow feature where when people are following each other, we count them as friends. And then we added the ability for you to add your friends to your team in the app. Um, so that allowed us to start kind of um, helping people create teams with their friends. And then we also added this. This was a feature that got requested, but it was so hard to build. It took us a while. Is we started letting people book spots for their friends as well. We used to let people book spots for guests, but the issue is that the guests, like the process to actually get them to sign the waiver was like a nightmare. So, we also couldn't manage the skill level of guests. So finally, we made it where if you're friends with someone and they have an account in Javelin, you can now book spots with them as long as their account has permissions to attend that game. that helped a lot too. And people
And do
started
you pay for
engaging.
them, or
Yeah.
how does that okay.
And people started engaging a lot more with our social features when we added that, because they'll add guests and that stuff.
Yes, either, something that we also been thinking about adding is actually like a place because we don't have friends yet. We don't have followings. You just kind of have your previous games, and then um. So we're thinking about actually making something like where you can post your clips, like a TikTok kind of thing or Reels kind of thing, where you're making more also a social media platform. We're thinking about it. We're not sure yet. Um, yeah, I was wondering what you thought about that.
I like the idea, and it's actually something we've spoken about. The issue is like, even for us just loading the games and like loading the attendance list as people look through them on our app is costing us like thousands of dollars a month, right? Like it's pretty expensive already. Our database demands. If we added video, we just thought it would be like a whole nightmare. I mean, social media is a good business model though, right? Like there's a lot of, I mean, there's a number of multi-billion dollar social media companies for a reason. Uh, so yeah, I think if you can find a way to make it happen, I think that's great. I would caution you to avoid focusing on too many things at a time. That was probably my number one mistake I made early on, is we kept going like, okay, cool, we got a drop in system. Now let's add leagues and let's add this and let's add that. And then there would just be issues at our drop in games because of some extreme use case that, as we became larger, became more common. So, and generally I encourage founders, like, focus on one thing, like do it as best you can, take it to its far, far extreme, and then launch your next product or your next offering. And I think there's maybe something in the social media space. It's, again, something we've spoken about. Um, but like, again, right now we spent 4 years focusing on drop in volleyball. That's still not done. I still don't think we do it as well as we could or as well as we should. Next, we'll probably be focusing on tournaments, and then probably wanting to get like really high level, potentially pro volleyball, and then maybe leagues, and then maybe training clinics. And at that point, maybe more social features. So that's kind of what our roadmap looks like. Any other questions?
Uh, what is advice like um that you would give us as a former like another volleyball app? We have 400 users. We have two gyms right now. Um, I think we're doing okay for our seventh, eighth week. Um, what now? Like, what's the kind of advice that you would give?
Um, I'd say really, really focus on your existing customers and build to get them coming back. In the consumer space, about 70% of your growth will be word of mouth. So if you can build something that they really like, we had this saying, it's good games grow, GGG. If you're hosting good games, if your players are having a good experience, like, they'll tell their friends about it, and like your games will grow. So just prioritize doing that. Um, Outside of that, one general piece of advice that I think is important. It's based on something you said at the beginning of the call, where like you get super stressed out looking at your games like day of or day before. Those are really common. The highs and lows in the startup scene are just insane. So one thing I encourage startup founders to do is try to just be more level across the board as a founder. Early on for me, I remember any kind of small win we ever got, I would just feel over the moon. I would feel so happy. I'd be like screaming in my room just about like the small thing that just happened. But there's two sides to every coin, right? And the flip side to that is, like, when something goes wrong, it just crushes you. It'll ruin your entire week because there's some small thing that's just not working out. And for me, at least, to reduce that kind of roller coaster, is I've actually found I just kind of be a bit more level with the successes and just go, okay, that's cool, on to the next one. And the flip side of that is, when things go wrong, I also kind of go, oh, well, that's too bad, let's fix this. I found that helps me be in a position where I can execute for a really long time. and being able to execute for a really long time typically is the key to success, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Cool. Thank you.
No worries. Any other questions?
Um, I think that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, pleasure. Pleasure to chat with a fellow volleyball player and to kind of share issues because it's a really weird, yeah, it's a weird space. There's not many other people who are building similar things, so there aren't many people I can talk to these struggles about with. All right, so thanks for
Yeah.
coming on, Heech. I'll see you around.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you, man. See ya.